All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. My 17th live broadcast in the past, I think, 48 hours, I feel like. A lot of live shows. A lot of live shows. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. One of those mornings. One of those mornings. Let's just put it that way. We'll keep it at that. All right, we'll have a fun show today. We'll chill today. Nothing earth-shattering, nothing that's going to change the scope of the world, but I appreciate you guys being here. Cheers to all of you. Drinking your cup of coffee, tea, whatever that you have today. I'm like 2 sips into my coffee, and I gotta be honest, I need about 27 more sips to be where I need to be this morning. And no guest either. So usually, I could sip some cups of coffee while the guest is talking. The guest talks, I drink coffee. Not this morning. We're going to be hanging out today, so we'll just have to we'll have to fit some coffee in there. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Got a lot to get into today. I mean, listen, look, I don't know what you guys were watching last night, but I was watching Lakers and the Blazers. I didn't know if there was any other sports going on. It didn't matter if there was any other guys. It was October 27th last night. I mean, can we all just take a quick second here to understand the magnitude of Game 4 of the regular season? No respect. No respect. All right, let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got for the show. I'll start looking at some of the comments here, and we'll hit on a number of different topics that we have. And obviously, we'll hit on the NBA. We'll hit on the World Series as well. To be completely honest, I wasn't watching 18 innings. It's kind of wild yesterday. The fact that the Laker game started at 7:30. 7:30. That's the latest tip-off that you can have. Started at 7:30, and then the game ends. I then do my post-game show, and there's still about another hour left of baseball, of the World Series. That's wild in itself there. All right, let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got for the show today. Lakers lost to the Blazers yesterday. Honestly, not really much to walk away with. They don't have anybody. They really don't have anybody. I think the bigger topic for the Lakers right now, which is, obviously much more of interest, is the injuries. Injuries piling up early in the season, unfortunately for Gabe Vincent. Unfortunately for the Lakers, at a moment where Gabe looked like he might be getting a little bit of momentum gone. Gabe Vincent out 2 to 4 weeks. We'll spend a little time talking about that. I want to go back to, there's a video I posted yesterday on Austin Reaves. And what I have a difficult time understanding with some fans, not all fans, but some fans. Damn, people just don't want to give this guy any credit. Why is that? Why do people not want to give Austin Reaves any credit? Austin Reaves can get a bucket, and somebody's going to say, yeah, but you know what? He could have been a little smoother getting to the basket. Austin Reaves can get a steal, and they be, yeah, but you know what? Can't do that in April. Can't do that in May. It's a weird relationship. I'm trying to understand what people's relationship is with Austin Reaves. I'll spend a little bit of time on that. The Athletic had a good article, really, really good article. I read it this morning. Wemby for MVP, the Lakers, Austin Reaves dilemma, and more early NBA observations. So it's kind of one of those, the season just started. We're going to overreact to everything that's NBA related. They go through some of the Wemby stuff, the Reaves problems in Lakerland, which is an interesting way to kind of phrase it, but a lot of it has to do with more the finances and then other early observations that they have. So we'll spend a little time on that from an NBA perspective. Adam Silver, NBA gambling. There's a reason why I put this as a topic. And, I guess, for me, this is a conversation that you can have. But on ESPN, on the front, Senate asks Adam Silver details on gambling investigations. Is it just me, or does Adam Silver just look like, remember when he first came into the league and everybody was, oh, God, this guy's amazing, unbelievable this. I almost feel like Adam Silver now is kind of maybe losing a little control in regards to the image of the NBA. Is that safe to say? Now, it's not to say that they're not making money and they don't have Amazon Prime and NBC and every other network, every other streaming service and network that you could think of. But I feel like the image of the NBA is not going in the direction that the NBA needs to go to. Obviously, if you have a commissioner, a lot of that's going to fall on him. And then last night, we'll kind of finish the show. Last night, we'll talk obviously a little bit about the World Series. Just wild. I mean, I don't even know what to say really about the World Series. 18 innings, and not a shocker. One of the most clutch players in Major League Baseball, Freddie Freeman, does it again. A walk-off in the 18th inning. I thought a game Toronto had to have if they were going. I think I mentioned this yesterday. If they had a legitimate shot at this World Series, they had to have Game 3. They lose it, and now that momentum, it starts just kind of building for a team that doesn't need any momentum. They are the Dodgers. And we'll see if they're able to slow that down at all. I don't think they'll be able to. We'll hit on that as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here as the show gets started, and we'll go from there. Let's see what people are saying. All right, the fix is in. Okay. All right, I didn't know that was going to be the first one. Ohtani, 5 more walks. Did I see this correctly yesterday? Was he on base 9 times? This is a video game. Just an absolute video game. All right, let's see what else we have here. Keith, you lie. Okay. Keith, good morning, brother. Good morning. Good to see you. Great to hear from you. I'm not sure what I lied about, but I'm not sure if that's to me. Sometimes you guys are mad at each other, and I find a way to get in the mix of this. What's this one? You're 9 to 5, pay the bills. You're 6 to 12, builds the empire. Oh, damn. Sheesh. That's good. That's really good right there. I like that. Ocean Breeze, you basically give me like 10 free minutes a day by finding a good quote. So thank you for doing that. 7:30 is the latest tip-off you can have. So painful to hear as an East Coast sports fan. Oh, I mean, and the funny thing is 7:30 for us, I'm like, well, what do I do? Just jacks up my whole day. What time am I going to bed? I got to wake up and do this show right in the morning. I can't do it. You guys are dealing with it much differently on the East Coast. All right, let's see here. I'm going to come back to some of these comments. Some people want to talk about Dalton Knecht. And we'll get into all that other stuff. So we'll do all that here in just a little bit. Oh, you lie about no. Trust me, Keith. No. Trust me on that one. You know, I don't exactly have a dog in the fight there. So, you know, I trust me on that one. I'm not watching too many of those. All right, let's get the show started. So Lakers lose to the Blazers yesterday. And you know, I could look at it a couple different ways. Number one, I disrespected the Portland Trail Blazers. No question about that. Because when I was doing the show yesterday, and I got no problem admitting when I'm wrong. I didn't know. I know Portland's young and athletic. In a weird way, I actually really like the way Drew Holiday fits on that team. And I don't know if Holiday for them is, hey, we want our youngsters to be around a professional, which is really smart if that's the case. We want our youngsters to be around a professional. Remember, they traded Anthony Simons, and they got Drew Holiday. I don't know if there was anybody else involved in that deal, but I know they got some vets there. Jeremy Grant now, definitely a vet. He's been in the league for a long time. But they got some young talent. I know they got young talent. What I didn't know yesterday is the Gabe Vincent piece, the Marcus Smart piece, no ball handlers for the Lakers, nobody to bring the ball up the floor. I mean, obviously, kind of, if I'm going to be honest with you, a pretty pathetic game to watch. And I don't blame anything on J.J. Redick. I don't blame anything on the scheme. I don't blame anything on any of that stuff. It's just bad basketball. And I don't think a lot of it had to do, I don't think the Lakers had a lot of control, you know, when you're trying to play Koloko and Bronny James and you're mixing and matching as much as you can, and you got to play connect big minutes, and you're asking Jake LaRavia to bring the ball up the court. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster. But I'm going to give the Blazers credit too. I thought the Blazers were smart. I thought they were the way they kind of blitzed the Lakers, the way they blitzed any ball handlers, the way they basically said, you know, we're going to try to throw 2 guys at Austin Reaves. I mean, Reaves, another 40-point plus performance, but he also had 8 turnovers. So let's not pretend like, Austin Reaves did nothing yesterday, but I have a very difficult time walking away from yesterday's game and really wanting to point the finger at the Lakers and say, what the hell was that? And what are they doing? And how come this? And how come that? I got an issue doing that. I don't think it would be authentic if I did that. What did the Lakers need going into last night's game in order to beat the Blazers? Well, they were going to need Rui. Can you get 24? They were going to need 8. And can you get 25? Can you get the same numbers you did against Sacramento? They were going to need Jake LaRavia. Can you get 15? No, he got 3. They were going to need Dalton Knecht, who ended up with 16 points, but kind of big opportunities for him. He missed shots at key times where that lead, the deficit could have gone from 7 down to 4. They were going to need everybody to contribute, period. And if that didn't happen, then they were going to struggle. And they struggled yesterday. And like I said, I didn't give the Blazers enough credit. And I also understand that the Lakers just are missing a ton of guys. So I got a really difficult time taking much from last night's game. Got a chance to hear JJ, got a chance to hear Reaves. Who else talked? I think Vando talked, maybe Ayton talked. At least that's what I played in my post game. So we got a chance to hear from a number of these guys. But I think when the dust settled, woke up this morning, reading a couple articles, doing this, doing that. There was, what side is it? I want to look real quick. Let me just make sure. I think Silver Screen and Roll. They do player grades after, I want to say, each game, and they're going down the list. And Reaves, they gave him an A+, and Rui, they gave him a B+, an A, and then Jake LaRavia got a C-, blah blah blah. Kind of go down the list, right? I didn't really walk away with too much from that game, and I don't think there's anything you walk away and say, hey, this is the Lakers positively or negatively. I just think that felt more like a preseason basketball game where the Lakers had to play 10, 11 guys, a lot of guys that are not going to be in the rotation were getting rotational minutes, and Portland took advantage of them. They took complete advantage of them, as they should, as any team should, and the Blazers were in no, different circumstance than another team kind of smelling blood in the water and saying, yeah, let's bury these guys. And they did it, and give Portland credit. And Portland's got some talent, and I'd like to see Portland do that again when the Lakers have some of their guys back. So we'll get a chance to see that. Actually, I think it's in a week or something like that. Lakers are in Portland. Maybe, I think it's this upcoming Monday. They're going to be back in Portland. So they'll get obviously another opportunity to see it. And I think it's if I'm right, I think it's another second day of a back-to-back. I want to say they play Miami at home, and then they're on the road. Lakers got a really weird schedule to start the year. First off, they're cramming the games in, number one. Technically, they played Tuesday and they didn't play again until Friday. But they're cramming the games in, and then I want to say 8 of the next 10 games, if I heard Billy Mack say that right, are going to be on the road for the Lakers. So they're going to have to be figuring out some stuff while they're out on the road. One takeaway I will chat with, and I saw somebody put it in the chat. So let me see if I think I started here. Let me see if I could hit on one. Lakers can no longer put Knecht in trade talks until February. He dropped 16 points last night. Seems like he's getting his confidence back. Don't ruin him again. Knecht gives us points. We need him. I don't know why, but I think my observation on Dalton Knecht was different than a lot of other people. Let me hit on Knecht. We'll get into the injuries and how, unfortunate it already is that we're talking about these injuries 4 games into the season. And by the way, if you weren't watching game 4 of the Lakers preseason, or I'm sorry, of the Lakers regular season over anything else last night, I don't want you to claim that you're a Laker fan, okay? Don't tell me World Series is getting in the way of Lakers Blazers. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear it. Like a head coach, I don't want to hear any excuses from any of you. My quick observation on Dalton Knecht yesterday. I think a lot of people are trying to kind of make the case here. If I go back to those grades, what did they grade Knecht? Anyway, 16 points, 2 rebounds and assists, 5 of 13 from the field, 2 of 8 from the 3-point line, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. Gave him a B+, and there's other people who are talking about Knecht. Why do I feel like I was watching something different yesterday? I think Knecht had some moments. Yeah, I think when you play 25 minutes, hopefully you're going to have moments. When there's nobody else on offense that you can depend on, hopefully you're going to have some opportunities. But really, at the end of the day, for me, Knecht in kind of the thick of the battle and in the key minutes where the game was kind of still in the air, Lakers down 1, Lakers up 1, Lakers down 4 or 5. I didn't really see Knecht get that many buckets when it was needed most. So nothing really changed for me on Dalton Knecht last night, but I feel like there were a lot of stories out there and people saying, yeah, no, Knecht. I mean, that comment's a good example that I just threw up here in regards to Dalton Knecht. And by the way, the way you're going to add to his confidence is by playing him more, not playing him less. I thought Dalton Knecht was very average yesterday. I wish, he clearly had the green light, and I wish he hit a couple more of those threes early on. I mean, I think the 2 threes that he had was basically towards the end of the game when it was already decided. So I don't think I walked away with the same thing. Now, what I will say, and I think this is important as well for Dalton Knecht, if he gets run and he gets minutes, he's got to make the best of those minutes. And that hasn't been the case so far for him since you could date back to last season when he was in all those trade conversations. Here's the good thing I will say about Dalton Knecht. I think we're at the point of his career and the Knicks trade from last season where I think we're not even talking about it anymore. So I think that's actually a good thing. I think the fact now it's like you almost forget that Dalton Knecht was part of a trade package for Mark Williams. It didn't happen. And now he could just go out there and play basketball. The biggest question for Dalton Knecht is when everybody comes back, how many opportunities is he actually going to get? And I think that's probably the bigger question and a completely fair question. Right now, Lakers are looking for guys who can produce. They're not looking for guys to just get run and learn on the fly. Knecht will get some opportunities. Hopefully he makes the best of those. All right, the injuries for the Lakers. It's brutal. I mean, just brutal for the Lakers. You're 4 games in and you already got this many guys that are out. We know what LeBron's dealing with in his issue. And he's not coming back till the word is mid-November. Jackson Hayes now has missed a couple of games. Luka Doncic, we get the news on Sunday that he's missing a week, and he's got still 2 more games left to go before see if Lakers can split. I mean, that's what you're hoping for at this point. But he's got 2 more games until he's able to potentially come back on Saturday against Miami or Sunday against Miami. Who knows? Maybe he plays Miami and doesn't play on Monday. I mean, the second of a back-to-back. I hope that's not the case. Marcus Smart, they're trying to be very strategic with. Gabe Vincent, we just find out yesterday, is out 2 to 4 weeks. I mean, already this many injuries. Maxi Kleber, Adu Thero. How many different guys relate? Let me actually count this out. Adu Thero, Maxi Kleber, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Gabe Vincent, Marcus Smart, Jackson Hayes. You got 7 guys missing out of the rotation. Maybe I missed one. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if I missed somebody. 7 guys already that LeBron, Luka, Gabe Vincent, Marcus Smart, all these guys, Jackson Hayes, all these guys are also getting important minutes. And as we sit here on this Tuesday morning, what a brutal start for the Lakers just from an injury perspective. So that part is definitely frustrating. That part, obviously, for the Lakers has been really, really tough to swallow. And I thought coming into last night's game, they were going to at least have some of those, when they got the win against Sacramento, part of the reason why they got the win is, okay, you had guys. Marcus Smart gave his contributions. At least you got another couple ball handlers in Gabe Vincent and Marcus Smart that could bring the ball up. And last night, that definitely wasn't the case. But it's a little concerning here that we're not even a month into the season. Guys, we're actually 1 week into the season, and there's 7 rotational players that are out. Maybe you don't want to count 7. Let's take Adu Thero out, even though I think they would be playing him right now. But let's just say 5 or 6 rotational players out already. So the injuries piling up for the Lakers are obviously unfortunate. The good thing is none of these injuries are, hey, these guys are out for a real extended period of time. I mean, I guess the question is what's your definition of an extended period of time? But certainly that part is very frustrating. Let me hit on Gabe Vincent here real quick, and I'll start looking at some of the comments. So Gabe Vincent has a really, really nice let's all take a break here and take a sip of our coffee. It's good coffee. I did one of those, I'm making my pot of coffee this morning. I did one of those where I put too much water. How come I can never get the level right? It just says go to level or go to the water levels, go to 4. And I'm always like at between 5 or 6 before I realize that I'm looking at the wrong number. So now I got to add more coffee. Well, I don't know how much more coffee I got to add. This bad boy right here is a strong cup of coffee. It's a good, strong cup of coffee. Let's talk Gabe Vincent real quick. So Gabe Vincent goes through the preseason, and we walk away from the preseason saying to ourselves, "Hey, maybe Gabe's back." Not even, by the way, that's not even the right way to describe him. Maybe Gabe has arrived, because there has been no time so far in Gabe Vincent's career as a Los Angeles Laker where I've ever really sat back and said, "Man, this guy is really, really coming through for the Lake Show. Wow, what a really, really good signing for the Lakers." I mean, think of some of these other players that the Lakers have added over the years. I'm just going to name some names. All right, yeah, Rui Hachimura can be inconsistent, but there's been moments where I'm like, man, Rui, I feel his impact. He's been good for the last couple of weeks. Rui looks great. Obviously, Austin Reaves, I don't have to talk about. Gabe Vincent's one of those players that I think since he became a Laker, I don't remember a time, and you guys can tell me this. I don't remember a time where I've sat back and been like, hey, Gabe Vincent is delivering. He's killing it. He's dependable. He's worth every penny of his 3 years, $33 million contract. Preseason comes. And maybe I'm a fool for thinking this. Preseason comes, and Gabe Vincent, all of a sudden, he looks healthy. He's hitting threes. He's walking out of preseason hitting 55% from the three-point line. So much so that J.J. Redick decides, all right, LeBron's out. I got some other options. Nope, I'm going to throw Gabe in the starting lineup. Yesterday, the news comes out. Gabe Vincent expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks after undergoing an MRI in his sprained left ankle on Monday, sources told ESPN. I'm not mad at Gabe Vincent for getting injured. Obviously, he has no control over it. Of course, freak accidents happen, but it falls along the trend of Gabe Vincent where you just kind of start getting a little excited about Gabe, and it's like, all right, let all the air out of the room, because we're back to Gabe Vincent not being available, or he's not healthy, or a freak injury, or whatever the case is, or he's not productive. And this just kind of unfortunately falls along the same path we've been on with Gabe Vincent now for the past 2+ years. This is the third year of his contract with the Lakers, the final year of his contract. If I'm going to hallucinate for every time that I hear people reference, yeah, but in Miami, he did this. And remember that finals run, he was able to contribute. And look what he did here, and look what he did there. What's he done for the Lakers? Unfortunately, not much. And this one's not in his hands. Injuries happen. But I think he was in a walking boot, they said, after the game against the Sacramento Kings. And now he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. And here's just another player that the Lakers aren't going to be able to depend on for now. Yeah, part of this article, too, that they had yesterday, Marcus Smart, Luka, Jackson Hayes, Maxi Kleber, Duthero. I mean, just wild to see this many injuries. Unfortunate to see this many injuries. But that's kind of been part of the story for the Lakers to start the season. Part of the story for the Lakers has been when Luka's played, he's been historically good. Austin Reaves is the best stretch I've ever seen from Austin Reaves. And, frankly, it's as good of a stretch as you can have in the NBA, period. Dropped another 40+ yesterday. And the injuries. So those have been the storylines for the Lakers. They're 2-2 after that loss to the Blazers yesterday. All right, let's start looking at some of the comments. And then we can hit on a couple things that are Reaves related. I got questions for people after that. Let's see here. Is it 2 years DK showed his ceiling? He needs to develop fundamentals. Yeah, I think a lot of the times too, he is, I think for Dalton Knecht, to just kind of go back to Dalton here real quick. If you guys have ever played, let me see how I can give a good example here. If I give basketball as an example, if you play basketball long enough, obviously nobody's playing at 1/100th the level these guys are playing, but pick up basketball, whatever the case. If you played your entire life, there's a time where you're not really thinking anymore. You're just kind of like, hey, I play the game, knee-jerk reaction. I mean, I know the flow of the game and things happen. The problem is when you start thinking. I mean, imagine doing something you're thinking the entire time, what should I do here? What should I do there? Okay, that happened, this happened, this happened. It's not instinctual. And I think sometimes for Knecht, I feel like he's out there thinking, right? Like, I feel like there's moments for Dalton Knecht where instead of him allowing just his high basketball IQ, his instincts, his confidence, his gut, all that other stuff, he's in his head a lot. So that's what I would say from a DK perspective. And I think I'd say that from the fundamental piece as well. No more Miami Heat players. Who else is on the list of Miami Heat players? Are there other guys that I'm not thinking of? Yeah, let's get this one here. Jojo, good one. Slee, the game last night was bad for the fans that pay money to see that trash game with everyone injured. Here's the problem, Jojo. I mean, these guys aren't out because they choose to be out. They're out because they literally cannot play. Is it an abundance of cautious by the Lakers to not have Luka out? Sure. But Lakers are thinking about an 82-game season. They're not thinking about, October 27th against the Portland Trailblazers. If Marcus Smart can play second of back-to-backs right now, he'd be out there. If Gabe Vincent could be out there, there's no excuse for him not to be there. LeBron can't come back till mid-November. I know what you're saying, but it's not like last night wasn't load management. Last night was, we don't got guys. There's just some bad luck here 7 games into the season. Or I'm sorry, 7 guys that are out 4 games into the season. So I think it has a little bit more to do with that. All right, let's take a look here at some more of these comments here. DK is a bench player, technically a player that has 4 years to develop. He is not a top 10 pick, definitely not a top 10 pick. Let's see what we got here. Somebody giving me some coffee tips. I appreciate it. How about this? How about I just stare at the amount of water I need to put in there? I mean, it's all numbered. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. That's the issue. That's the issue. All right, let's keep going here. Let's look a little bit further down. Odom was a former Heat player. Odom was good for the Lakers. Kendrick Nunn. That's a good point. All right, I want to Slee, can I get a cup of – come on down. Come on down. Where are we at? Right there. Right there. Come on down. We'll have a cup of coffee together. We'll talk about the significance of Game 4 of the regular season. Is it just me, or did it feel like it was a preseason game yesterday? I'm like, is this preseason? What's going on here? What's going on here? All right, I want to talk Reaves here and keep things going. Okay. I got a question for everybody. I got a real question for everybody on Austin Reaves. So Reaves last night I think he had a good game under the circumstances. A lot of people will say, no, he didn't because he had 8 turnovers. I think there's a reason why he had 8 turnovers. Let's just look at Austin Reaves so far this year. And this is going to be part of my response to Austin Reaves' last couple of games and then a lot of comments that I'm getting about Austin Reaves. By the way, here's what I don't want to happen to people. If you got a thought on Austin Reaves, don't be discouraged because I disagree with you. Just whatever your thought is, it's okay. But here's my question to people. Reaves last night, by the way, shot almost 60% from the field, had 41 points, had 5 assists, had 4 rebounds, had 3 steals, had 8 turnovers. So we won't shy away from that. He had 8 turnovers. You obviously can't have 8 turnovers in a game. Just a terrible stat for him to have 8 turnovers. But there was nobody else bringing up the ball. Portland was smart with how they were, obviously guarding him. Listen, if Luka was in the game and he had 8 turnovers, I'd be talking a lot different about that. If Gabe Vincent and Marcus Smart were in the game and he had 8 turnovers, I'd be talking a lot different about that. But this is just, he had 8 turnovers. Here's a question that I have for everybody. Austin Reaves has had as good of a start to the season as anybody in the NBA, period. And I'm not telling you I'm watching every game. I know Wemby has been unbelievable. I know Tyrese Maxey for Philly's been unbelievable. I'm sure there's other guys that are absolutely killing it, doing what they're doing. Austin Reaves had another 41, 5, and 4 yesterday. He has over 90 points in the last 2 games for the Lakers. Lakers 2-2, all the injuries, but part of the reason why they're 2-2 is because Reaves is playing good ball right now. Was averaging, I think, 10 assists coming into yesterday, so knock it down now. It's probably 7.5, 8 assists a game, something along those lines. Here's my question about Austin Reaves. Why is there I feel like still a large percentage of fans that don't want to give Austin Reaves credit? What am I missing in the Austin Reaves conversation? What am I missing? I think, a lot of times, is it just as simple as this? Is it just as simple as people have their mind made up on Austin Reaves and that's it? And is that just kind of the world that we're in sports where once somebody makes their mind up on things, there's nothing else to talk about. That's it. You can't change my mind. You can't convince me. I'm going to stay stuck in this and I'm going to be stubborn about it. And that's the conversation. Here's why I'm bringing this up. Before yesterday's game, I had put out a video. Video was, has Reaves proven he can't be traded? Like, just, it's not a good decision to trade him. Keith Smith was on the show yesterday. You guys know Keith Smith, covers the NBA. We're talking about Austin Reaves. And as part of our conversation, I'm asking Keith, what does he think happens? He thinks Lakers are in a good position. And, Reaves clearly does want to come back. And maybe they find some common ground of a right number that everybody feels good about. He's having, like, I cannot find an angle to be negative about Austin Reaves to start the season. I can't. A lot of other people can find angles. So I'm going to go back to my original question. Why are there certain fans, and I think a decent amount of fans, or maybe people are just louder when they disagree about something? What's the saying? What's the saying is, if you go to a restaurant, you have a good experience, you tell one person. If you go to a restaurant, you have a bad experience, you tell 10 people, right? The headline news, or anywhere you go to get your news, they're not typically leading with positive stories. They're leading with negative stories. So maybe that's just what sells, and that megaphone is louder than the positive ones. But my experience and my question to everybody out there, and again, if you're one of these people, explain it to me. I like this dialogue. You don't have to agree with me. Why is it so hard for people to give credit to Austin Reaves? Video I put out yesterday, Reaves proven he can't be traded. Okay, let me read some of the comments here. He's always been a great regular season player, but go look at his playoff performances. Okay, all right. Then that means if we're going to go look at his playoff performances, by the way, there is somebody that said the AR is not good in the playoffs narrative. It has to stop. He has 2 bad series and 3 good series. But I'm just going to read some of these comments here. I would share it, but to be honest with you, I don't think there's a reason to. Let me get another one here. Here's one guy basically saying that I'm on the dude's, I'm jocking him. That's what he's saying. He did this shit last year against Indiana. When those playoffs come to the refs, when the playoffs come, the refs don't give you all the BS fouls. I look forward to seeing how this plays out. Okay. Let's get another one here. I never understood how 3 games made people abandon Austin Reaves, as if he didn't have other playoff series to evaluate. Okay, let me get another one in here. Here we go again. Even Cam Thomas can score 50. Contract year, no achievement. When did Austin won a Player of the Month award? 3 years in the making and still trash in the playoffs. No defense, all hype, no ring. All right. I don't think I need to just keep going off of this, but I wanted to read a couple comments. Here is the issue or not even the issue. Here's the question that I'm trying to understand from the audience. Why can't the man just get credit for what he's doing? Why can't the man get credit for what he's done so far in the NBA? And why can't the man get credit for what it looks like he's going to be in the NBA down the road? I guess my question about Austin Reaves, and I feel like how a lot of the conversation is about Austin Reaves, I don't feel like people want to give him credit for what he's doing. And it just sounds so absurd to me. It's such an absurd argument the way he started out this year and the way he's balling and facilitating and getting other guys involved. I liked yesterday, he was doing something last night as kind of the head of the snake. He was doing something last night where I thought his leadership was good. I thought he was setting up DeAndre in good spots. I thought, even as the Lakers were committing turnovers and getting their asses kicked, whatever, they were down 18 at one point in Portland, still communicating with a lot of the guys. My question is, why can't we just give the man credit for what he's doing? And this isn't a hard sale. Like, just see what he's doing. I think he's been incredible this year. I really do not have anything negative to say about Austin Reaves this year. And if people want to hit on this, like there's a narrative out there that Austin Reaves can't deliver in the playoffs. Guys, what did anybody do in the playoffs against Minnesota? Tell me what anybody did. I mean, shouldn't the conversation be that the Lakers didn't do anything in the playoffs, not just Austin Reaves? And I'm not making a case or an excuse for him. Nobody did anything. They didn't win or lose the series because of Austin Reaves. Luka was 20 pounds overweight. LeBron had moments where he clearly struggled. Dorian Finney-Smith wasn't hitting his threes and wasn't that two-way player that the Lakers traded for when they traded D'Angelo Russell. I mean, JJ Redick was awful against Chris Finch and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So there is a little bit for me. There is a little bit for me having a difficult time understanding the narrative about Austin Reaves. It almost feels like, which I hate to say this, but it feels like it. The camp that doesn't like Austin Reaves is like rooting for him to fail. It's a really weird dynamic. Here's a player on the team that you're rooting for, and just so you can make your case, you're almost hoping Austin Reaves doesn't do well. And any moment you get to say, go look at Austin Reaves. Well, he had 8 turnovers. Yeah, but it's October. He's not going to do anything in April. How do we know that? We don't know that. And he's having a historic start. I mean, the guy literally put up 50, 11, and 9 and single-handedly beat the Sacramento Kings, putting up great numbers, even with Luka there. I'm lost on the narrative. I am. But I wanted to throw that in there because it's also going to give people an opportunity to, respond to the live chat, and I could read some of those right now too. I got emotional. My voice cracked. I mean, sometimes you just get emotional. Let me look at some of the comments here. I got to go back a little bit because, sometimes I start blabbing. 3 top LA players being defensive liabilities isn't okay, Slee. You're not wrong on that. I definitely think that clearly the Lakers, from a defensive perspective, I've said this before the regular season started. I'm like, listen, if the goal is to drop 120 a game, Lakers ain't going anywhere. But there are certain players that are going to have strengths and other players aren't. You're going to tell me Austin Reaves is the only player in the NBA that can go get you a bucket, but isn't a defensive stronghold for the team? He's not the only player in the league that's like that. Yet I feel like the noise for Austin Reaves is a lot louder than other players in the NBA. All right, let's look at another one. I saw something. All right, here's another one. Doesn't work like that. Austin has to have a great season and playoffs to change the narrative. Austin Reaves is a great player. Like I think that maybe if Austin Reaves, how do I put this? If Austin Reaves was Luka Doncic, where he's a top 5, top 10 player in the NBA, then I do think that you have a completely different perspective of what your expectations are. I still have expectations for Austin Reaves, but my expectations aren't the same for when LeBron's in his prime. My expectations for Austin Reaves isn't the same for Anthony Davis in his prime. My expectations for Austin Reaves isn't the same as Luka Doncic in his prime. You want to know why? Is because Austin Reaves is not that caliber of a player. What was Austin Reaves? What did we say? There was a ranking that ranked all the players in the NBA. He's like 60th, 61st, something along those lines. can you not also bring down your expectations based on this is not a top 5, top 10 player in the NBA? He's not a superstar. He's not. Now, he might be putting up some superstar numbers, but he's not a superstar. By definition, he's not a superstar. There was I really want to find the James Harden one that I saw earlier. There was I think somebody was trying to make a comparison to James Harden, if I'm right. Here's the problem with that comparison. James Harden has been technically the best player on his team for a number of years. Maybe not now with the Clippers, but obviously he's time with the Houston Rockets, some other stops that he's had. But there is definitely a difference between James Harden in his prime, who played Ole defense, gave absolutely no, gave no effort towards the defensive side. He was your star player. He was a top 10 player in the league. And what are the expectations for Austin Reaves? Austin Reaves doesn't have, nobody's thinking Austin Reaves is a top 5, 7, 10 player in the league. Not at all. All right, let's take a look. I got to go down to the bottom. I got to catch up here. All right. James Harden, playoff good in regular season, but is a playoff choker. That part's true. But he also, again, I go back to this. I really do not like, really do not like the comparison of James Harden and Austin Reaves. James Harden has a much longer history in the postseason where he hasn't delivered. James Harden has been the best player on his team for how many years and hasn't delivered. I mean, James Harden, that's not a good comp. If you want to comp James Harden, you got to find other players that are top 10 in the NBA that haven't delivered. That's not a good comp. Reaves paid Sliwa to back him up. Let me tell you how to back up Austin Reaves. 26, 9, and 5 in his first game, 25, 11, and 7 in his second game, 51, 9, and 11 in his third game, 41, 6, and 4 in his fourth game. If that doesn't back up Austin Reaves, then I don't know what does. I don't know what does. But again, this goes back to the narrative. I think some people they don't want to give the man credit. They just don't want to give the man credit. Now, maybe if you want to say, hey, he's had a tremendous start to the season. He's overplayed every contract that he's ever been in. And you want to say, but you know what, Al? For him to take the next step, he's also got to deliver in the playoffs. I'm all for that. I think that's a very, very, very fair conversation. I'm okay to have that conversation. But remember, this guy's the third best team on this team. I mean, we'll see by the time LeBron comes back, but he's the third best player on the team. He's not the franchise player. So typically expectations go different on their shoulders once that happens. This is businessly. Austin's playing to get paid. We need to trade him now. It's interesting. That is interesting. So I think this falls to my narrative. Real talk, put some respect. Absolutely put some respect on this man's name. I mean, but listen, I think the comments are a great example. It's the same for the video that I put out. I could sit here until 9 p.m. tonight. And it doesn't matter what I tell people, and it doesn't matter the numbers that are there, and it doesn't matter the start that he's having to the season. There are going to be some people that just say, nah, we got to get rid of him. Got to get rid of him. All right, I don't want to continue to bore everybody with Austin Reaves, but that one is a really, really kind of interesting dynamic for me that I don't fully understand. And I got no issue being critical with some of these players, and I got no issue of this guy. I got no issue of pointing players out when it needs to be, but it's kind of absurd on the Austin Reaves front. And by the way, you could still make the case, the 35 million, 40 a year, whatever the case is. You can make cases and say, I don't know if I'd pay him that much. And I don't know if that's the right backcourt. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday. He's like, we got to bring Austin Reaves off the bench. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Partially because, first off, I don't think the Lakers are going to do it. And the other thing is, I don't know what player is screaming to be in the starting lineup if you take Austin Reaves out at this stage. Now, maybe that changes once LeBron comes out, but he's a fascinating conversation. I mean, I think it's safe to say that the conversations about Austin Reaves are not going anywhere anytime soon. All right, I got to give a quick shout out here. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Thank you for being a great partner on the show. Can represent anybody in the state of California. We created a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, to make your life as easy as possible. I hope you never need Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, but things happen in life. And if you're in a predicament, a situation, a serious injury, a wrongful death case, you got the best in the business that's a partner of this show that's willing to help anybody that's on here. By the way, has already helped people on the channel. I appreciate those that, obviously look at some of the partnerships that we have here and say, you know what? I trust Al. I like Al. I trust the partners that are on here as well. So I appreciate you guys supporting Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. The website, like I mentioned, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. When you start getting into this field and this industry, you need a professional. You need somebody that this is what they do night in and night out, and he'll be able to help you. So Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Shout out to him for being a partner. And thank you, everybody, for supporting our partners. All right, let's get back here. I had an NBA early observation that I want to get to. I'm going to spend a quick second on. So let me kind of just give everyone an idea of what this is. So do I open this up with you guys? Let's open it up together. Let's all sing Kumbaya. We'll hold hands and the whole thing. Shame on everybody who didn't watch Lakers Blazers yesterday. There was nothing else on TV. I mean, literally nothing else on TV. Yesterday was a very dead day in sports other than the Lakers and the Blazers in Game 4 of the regular season, with the Lakers missing 39 players. I think yesterday was, I forget the term, but I think yesterday was one of the few days out of the year where all the sports are playing. Major League Baseball, NFL had Monday Night Football, Chiefs end up beating Washington, 28-7, something like that. NBA basketball, NHL, and MLS had a game as well. Was it Seattle Sounders and Minnesota? Look at that. I'm all of a sudden an MLS guy because San Diego FC is in the mix. But I think every sport played yesterday. So I want to go through this article here real quick. So this is the kind of early observations around the NBA real quick. Wemby for MVP, Lakers, Austin Reaves dilemma, and more early NBA observations. All right, let's get this one out of the way. Here's Wembenyama. Here's Wemby's averages to start out the year. Averaging 31, 14, 4.8 blocks, and 1.5 steals. The reason why his blocks went down is because yesterday he only had one block. What a scrub. They're 4-0. I wasn't 100% sure on this, but I did see it in the article. De'Aaron Fox hasn't played a game yet. They're 4-0. They got youngsters everywhere. I mean, if you're worried about OKC, you should be. But there's two teams now in the Western Conference where their stock looks so good for the future, and San Antonio is one of those teams. So Wemby doing, the article talks about just what he's doing so far, what he's been able to do. Some of his highlights are just incredible. They're ridiculous. And here are the San Antonio Spurs 4-0. Okay. MVP front runner, that's fine. But they got a lot of other talent too. A lot of young players are talented as well. There's a second piece of this. The Reaves problem in Lakerland. We're just talking about Austin Reaves, so let's figure this one out. Let me read this for everybody here. We know Reaves turned down the 4-year, just under $90 million contract. He's got a player option worth 14.8. Obviously, he's not going to take it. Listen to this right here. Dan Wyke of The Athletic reported in late September, rival executives could see Reaves fetching as much as $40 million annually. And that was before he started this season with all-star level numbers. It goes through what his stat line is. I told you, listen, you saw how impressive Wemby is. Well, we all know what Wemby's going to do. Look at Reaves' numbers to start the season. And yes, a lot of this has to do with LeBron's not playing. Luka's already missed a couple of games. Of course, that it definitely has a lot to do with that. Look at these numbers here. While they'll be able to outbid the competition next July, when his max offer from the Lakers would be 5 years and a combined $240 million. They'll need to see how he fits alongside Luka Doncic for a full season first. Gets a little bit into the ownership. How much is ownership going to want to, pay potentially into the luxury and everything else? Okay, we'll see what happens there. They try to make some comparisons of the time that Luka played with Jalen Brunson, Kyrie Irving. If you want to talk about stories around Austin Reaves and it's around this type of stuff, I'm okay with it. The numbers piece of it, I'm okay with it. But the production piece is not a good argument for anybody right now because he's producing. Regular season, we'll see what happens in the playoffs. Okay, let me ask you this. What happens if Austin Reaves balls out in the playoffs? What if he's just phenomenal in the playoffs? Is the conversation still the same? You can't pay him? But those numbers are crazy. 5 years, 200 plus. Yeah, those numbers are crazy. I got a feeling Austin Reaves, to stay with the Lakers, will negotiate with the Lakers and will try to do what he can to, obviously to be with the team and try to build with the team. We'll see what happens. Maybe there's a scenario out there where he takes a little less money because he knows that there's more of a pedigree of winning in LA if he's able to do that. Okay, some other early observations in the article. You guys seeing what Philly's doing? They're 3-0 right now. Joel Embiid, Paul George, don't even talk about them. It's all about Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, who's the first round pick. Was he top 5 pick for the Philadelphia 76ers? Look what Edgecombe's averaging so far. 25, 6, and 5 so far to start the season. Anyways, I just some early observations. Philly's undefeated. There's also one other piece here, and I'm not going to get into too much other stuff. One other piece here in regards to Jonathan Kuminga and how he's getting off to a great start as well. So I saw that piece on The Athletic, and I thought I'd kind of throw that in there. I know I usually put a lot of NBA news in, and I liked some of the storylines that they had right there. But kind of wild to see some of these other players and even the superstars who aren't playing. You got the youngsters stepping in and filling in the space like they're doing for the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay. Let's get a couple comments in here. I'm going to hit on one thing on Adam Silver and the gambling situation that the NBA finds itself in, and then we'll get to that other game yesterday. What was that game? A 19-hour game. By the way, I was watching part of it afterwards, or not. After I finished my post game. There was just no action from Toronto for what, 6, 7 innings? Nothing at all. It's kind of just a weird vibe to the game. It was like 3 outs, next half inning, 3 outs, next half inning. I mean, Dodgers had put some guys on, but that's just a weird vibe. All right, and in such a critical game. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the comments here before we keep rolling here. From a business standpoint, the kids love the team, so we got to keep Austin so we can win and lose sometimes. All right. Let's see what we got here. I must be the only one not in awe of what Wemby's doing. It's great, but we're talking about a player that makes Shaq look short. Let me help you with what's so special about Wemby. What's so special about Wemby is you've seen other players at this height or this tall. Wemby has almost a guard skill set. Wemby has done things that I've never seen before because he can actually take you off the dribble at 7'5" or 7'4", however tall that he is. Wemby can step back and hit a 25-footer on somebody. Anthony Davis can play perfect defense on Wemby, but he just rises above him because of his length and his size. Wemby can get 2 blocks in the same possession and bring the ball up court and hit a 26-footer like he did, was that 2 days ago. Oh, no. You're not watching Wemby then. If you're not impressed, I don't know if you're watching Victor Wembanyama. The only thing I will say, and I think everybody feels the same way about this, you just got to be healthy. And if there's one concern you have with Victor Wembanyama is he healthy? Or can he stay healthy? That's the only concern that I think you have. All right, let's see. I think it's so much more than just you're watching a 7-footer dunk. I mean, I really, really think you should spend some time on watching him play. I know, look, Look at Spurs. They're probably going to win it this year. I don't think the Spurs will this year, but I will tell you that they got a ton of assets. You know, them and OKC are interesting because they're good now. They have a superstar. I mean, OKC is obviously a couple of years ahead of the San Antonio Spurs, or maybe a year ahead. I don't know how much further ahead they are. But if you really, really pay attention to the San Antonio Spurs, what gives them, they got a lot of assets. They got a lot of young pieces. They got the rookie of the year. They got Victor Wembanyama. I mean, they're in just a phenomenal position, a phenomenal spot. All right, let's see what else we got here. Wemby can dream shake you at the free throw line and get a dunker. I mean, it's I love watching. I don't get to watch him enough. I did watch him on opening night, and he was just. There were things that I was watching that I'm like, I can't. My brain can't process what he's doing because I just haven't seen it before. Spurs are a headache for the next decade. Might not be wrong there. They got Ron Harper, so Derek Harper, right? Why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden? They got young talent. Let's put it that way. They got young talent. Okay, let me hit on this thing real quick on the NBA. Adam Silver. We'll talk a little bit about the World Series, and then we'll call it a day. Appreciate you guys being here. You know, these are kind of more unique shows. I don't know why this happens, but this definitely happens to me sometimes. I find myself, let's see if I could find this. All right, I'll find that NBA story on the gambling stuff. I find myself, like this morning's a great example, where there isn't a crazy amount of topics that are out there, but it almost, I don't know what it is. It's almost when you have less, you have more, because you can just get into deeper conversations and topics and everything else. So solid show today. I appreciate you guys chiming in with everything that you're chiming in on. So there's a story out there this one, the Senate committee asks NBA Silver for details on gambling investigations. Here's a quote here. The integrity of NBA games must be trustworthy and free from the influence of organized crime or gambling related activity. Sports betting scandals like this may lead the American public to assume that all sports are corrupt. This is committee members wrote this, and they're putting some pressure, and they want to know what the hell's going on in the NBA. The committee needs to understand the specific of the NBA's investigation and why Rozier was cleared to continue playing basketball. Terry Rozier was investigated, and then eventually the NBA didn't take action because they didn't have, I guess, enough evidence. And we know, obviously where the NBA is sitting today. I got a question. You guys can chime in as much as you guys want on this. My perception of the NBA and my perception of Adam Silver is kind of changing in front of my eyes. NBA is my favorite sport. It just is. That's just the game that I grew up watching. I played basketball my entire life. I just have a connection to the NBA like I don't have in any other sport. Love watching the NFL, not as much anymore. If baseball is as good to watch as well, and the grind of a Major League Baseball season, playoffs are always very exciting. I mean, I love sports, but I have a connection to the NBA that I don't have with any other sports. And it might just be because I've played the game my entire life. I love basketball. I can consume it, the whole thing. I think of the NBA right now. If I ask somebody about the NBA, maybe the more casual fans like thinking of Wemby and the Sixers and blah, blah, blah. Not the more casual fan, the more direct fan. But I'm sure there's a lot of people saying to themselves like, hey, what's going on in the NBA? I mean, the storylines for the NBA right now, a lot of it is on the gambling stuff. A lot of it is on, hey, is this stuff rigged? Is it fixed? Can you trust the NBA? And I look at Adam Silver, and I start thinking about Adam Silver. I'm saying to myself, this guy came into the league when he took over. He took over right at the time where the Clippers were having their situation with Donald Sterling. A new ownership comes in, obviously for the Clippers, Steve Ballmer. And look, he's in his own mess as it is. But take the last couple of months around the NBA. Take Adam Silver. Take the perception of the NBA. Take, and I know this just happens as well. The right is going to say, oh, look at their political views. This, I get that. There's a lot of nuances that comes up. Politics is stepping into play as much as it probably has before. But I look at Adam Silver and I'm like, yeah, the perception of this guy, it's like if he's a stock, there was a point where his stock was just sky high. And I feel like that stock for Adam Silver is going in the wrong direction. The last thing you want in the NBA and in sports, especially with your league, I think people are starting to question the integrity of the NBA. And I don't care what people say about, oh, well, you always have just one or two bad apples. That's not my point. My point is the integrity of what is the perception of the NBA today. And I think right now the perception of the NBA is what's going on over there? What do you mean a head coach is involved in a gambling ring? What do you mean a player is coming out a few minutes into the game so people bet the under and that the NBA investigated and said, we don't have enough information? Not a good look for the league. And I don't think a good look for Adam Silver as well. And I'm curious to see kind of how some of this stuff develops. But, I'm watching some of these games right now and you got the prop bets into this. I'm like, ain't the timing right now, guys. It's not a good look. Now, owners might love Adam Silver because they may just be saying they got the Amazon Prime deal, the NBC deal, the ESPN deal. They're making money like you've never seen before. The Lakers just sold for $10 billion. It takes the value of everybody else's franchise up. Maybe they don't care. And that could very well be the case. And I wouldn't be surprised if owners out there don't give a flying you-know-what because they're saying, we make our money. If we made our money, then we don't care. But it's not a good perception right now for the league, in my opinion. So we'll see how things develop on the NBA front. But that's the Adam Silver piece for me is it's not a good look for him. Just not a good look for him. And I know everybody wants to make money, and I know everybody's they don't care how they make their money, but you should pay attention to how that money is coming in because the big picture at the end, and here's the thing, all the other leagues are doing it too. So it's not like there aren't other leagues taking prop bets and this and that, but it just seems like the league is moving in the wrong direction. Let's put it that way. So I'll end the NBA stuff on that. So I appreciate you guys chiming in. I'm starting to see some of the comments come in. I'll take a look at that before we get out of here. Okay, final thing I got. Obviously, last night after the Lakers finished and the Blazers finished, people started watching the World Series. I don't think people were watching it before, and I don't think people were watching it during the Lakers and the Blazers. But afterwards, they started watching. 18-inning game. 6-5 the final score. What was the final time? I thought I looked at the time. Did it give a final time? I know that stat's out there, but anyways, really weird the way the game went. By the time the 7th inning was done, it was 5-5, and they didn't score another run until the 18th inning. So you went a full 9 innings until somebody scored. Freddie Freeman hits the solo shot, and just as clutch as it gets. I mean, that dude's going to be a legend for his entire life when it comes to the postseason and what he's been able to do for the Dodgers. And just as clutch as it gets and as good as it gets, and just you can't get any better. Some wild stats in the game. The Shohei Ohtani piece of being on base 9 times, that's the most wild thing that I've ever heard. All right, here's another as random as it gets as well. Try to find this stat here. I had it here just a second ago. Will Klein, who was, I think, the last roster spot, gets the win and goes 4 innings. And it looked like for a game that takes forever, was pitching every 3 seconds, and it felt like was getting outs every 10 seconds. I mean, just kind of mowing through Toronto. I really do believe this when I say it. I thought last night Toronto had to win. If the Blue Jays won last night, then they got a shot in this series. But I felt like if they lost last night's game, especially, you have a couple run lead, Dodgers come back, you get another lead 5-4. Shohei brilliant with his 2 home runs and his 2 doubles, and then they just decide, yeah, we're not pitching anymore to Shohei Ohtani. But it was too little too late, as in they had already tied the game by then. Obviously, it ends up going 18 innings. But I thought if Toronto lost yesterday, then here's what happens. This is how I can describe the Dodgers in the postseason so far. And this is probably why they're going to end up winning the World Series, outside of the fact that they got all the talent in the world. They've won every close game that they've been in the postseason. And I think I was saying yesterday, I said, until the Dodgers start feeling a little bit of pressure and heat, the more comfortable they are, the more dangerous they will become. And I thought last night was a great example. And if you guys, if you've been watching the playoffs, Dodgers had a close game 2 against Philly that went their way. And then that was the series. They had a close game 4, went their way. Obviously, they end up winning the walk-off off the air. They had a close game early on against Milwaukee. It went their way. They had a close game against Toronto in a critical 1-1 series tie that went their way. Every close game has gone their way. The only way you're going to beat a powerhouse like the Dodgers, you need a couple things to go against them. And if there's a sport that can happen, and it is baseball, you need a couple things you need the Dodgers to feel a little bit of pressure. Well, here's what happened by them winning in 18 innings yesterday. Obviously, both teams used as many pitchers as you can possibly use. Sure, I get it. I understand that. But here's what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday was the Dodgers took a 2-1 series lead, and they got Shohei on the mound tonight. And what tonight will represent is Shohei feels like he's at his best in the biggest moments. And what Shohei has an opportunity to do now, last time he was on the mound, obviously we know it. It's the clincher to go to the World Series, 3 home runs, 10 strikeouts, pitches into the 7th inning. He's at his best when the stakes are as high as they are. What happens now for Shohei, he's got a chance to basically take a complete grip of this series and go up 3-1 in LA to then give them an opportunity to close it out in 5. That momentum that you needed to grab from the Dodgers went the other way. And I thought last night probably was the series. I thought if Toronto won, then they obviously at the absolute worst can take it back to Toronto and see what happens. But I thought if Dodgers win, I thought they're going to win the series. And, obviously Dodgers have put themselves in this position. Now, this could also happen. You just played an 18-inning game and you got to come back the next night. Maybe none of that matters tonight. Maybe tonight is just a random, 7-5 game, and both teams are giving up a lot of runs, and they're just trying to get through a game because they just played 18. They just played 2 games in one night. So we'll see what eventually happens. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts here. All right, let's take a look. All these sports are rigged. Might be right there. Kershaw sweating bullets. Listen, obviously his history in the postseason, I'm sure he's not comfortable in any of these games. All right, let's take a look at a couple more of these here, and then we're going to call it a day. Wemby, the second coming of Wilt. MLB is fixed also. By the way, you don't want that perception in your leagues, obviously. You definitely don't want that perception. All right, let's see what we got here. You got umpires in baseball calling strikes when the ball's clearly out of the strike zone, cost the Blue Jays 2 runs and the game. I didn't watch every pitch, so I didn't get a chance to see it. I think a lot of people are obviously excited about the replay coming into the mix next season, and having an opportunity to challenge a ball and a strike. So how that evolves in the game and how that becomes more important as the game comes on, I get it. That's what people want to see, and I don't blame them. Adam Silver doesn't seem to have a backbone, but I don't think the perception is any different than the 90s. No, I think it is. I think the perception is different right now. I think in the 90s, there were more fans of individual players, teams, dynasties, all that. Right now, I feel like there's a lot of hate that comes with the NBA. People like it. people don't like the politics in it. Like, I feel like it crosses areas. Well, maybe that's all of politics right now. Maybe that's not just an NBA thing. The strike zone was high all night. All right. All right. Okay. My people, we went $110 today. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Enjoyed doing the show this morning with everybody. No game tonight. So can I have an evening off? Feel like every game has been a post game. Thank you for being a part of the show. Greatly appreciate it. I'm back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Should have Alan Horton on tomorrow to help us preview the Lakers and the Timberwolves. Alan Horton is the radio voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we should have him on, talk a little bit about Anthony Edwards, the injury, and all that other good stuff. So thank you for being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Tuesday. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thanks, guys.